Have you ever scrolled through someone's feed and thought, okay, there's got to be more to the story? Like, are they really that put together?
Well, that's exactly what we're diving into today.
And when I say more to the story, buckle up because this one's a doozy.
We're talking about Hannah Pearl Davis,
Yeah.
better known online as just Pearly Things or Pearly Things, depending on where you're hanging out on the internet. She's, well, she's stirred up quite a bit of controversy online.
That's putting it mildly. We're talking full-on internet deep dive levels of fascination, bordering on obsession, thanks to this one particularly juicy Kiwi Farms thread.
See, that's what I love about these deep dives. It's like, let's skip the surface and go straight for the deep end of the internet pool.
No, right, because that's where you find the real dirt. And this thread, let me tell you, they were digging for gold. So for those of us who haven't spiraled down the Pearly Things rabbit hole, who is she? What's her online shtick, and why is she so darn controversial?
Imagine, if you will, Andrew Tate, but in a dress.
Okay, now that's an image. Go on.
So we're talking hardcore anti-feminist, traditional gender roles, the whole 9 yards. She's basically catnip for the Manosphere, which we'll get into more later.
And the forum wastes no time, let's just say, in describing her. They call her Shoonhead V2, female Andrew Tate, and Pick Me Supreme that never got picked.
Yeah, they didn't hold back. Which tells you right there, this is someone who elicits strong reactions. Love her or hate her, you're going to have thoughts about Pearl Davis. But here's where it gets interesting, and this is where the forum really starts digging in. There are whispers, or rather full-on accusations, that this whole persona, the pro-man firebrand, is all a carefully constructed act.
You're saying she's putting on an act, a grift even. For what? Money? Clout?
That's the million-dollar question. And the forum is split. Because on the one hand, it seems wild, right? This is someone who, according to the thread at least, comes from serious money. 10 kids, 10-bedroom mansion, parents are tech moguls. It's a far cry from the struggling to make it narrative she often pushes.
So she's like trust fund kid turned anti-feminist influencer. That's a head scratcher for sure.
Exactly. And it's something the forum users keep coming back to. If you're already sitting on a gold mine, why go through all this? Why court this level of controversy?
Right. It's not like she needs the exposure. Okay, so to understand Pearl's appeal, we got to understand this whole manosphere she's playing to. Break it down for us. What is this corner of the internet, and who's hanging out there?
Well, think of it this way. The manosphere is like this loose collection of online communities, mostly guys, who feel like they've gotten the short end of the stick.
The short end of what stick? Exactly.
Life, love, the whole shebang. They see feminism as the enemy, blame it for their problems, and feel lost in the world of modern dating. So they turn to these communities for answers, and often the answers they find are, shall we say, a little old-fashioned.
Read. Traditional gender roles, a healthy dose of anti-feminism, and probably some questionable views on women sprinkled in for good measure.
You got it. And figures like Andrew Tate, they become like these cult heroes almost, offering a scapegoat for their frustrations with the flashy lifestyle and the whole alpha male shtick.
Which, let's be real, is pretty appealing to a certain demographic, right?
No doubt. And that's what makes Pearl's whole deal so fascinating. She's tapping into that same audience, using a lot of the same rhetoric, but from a woman's perspective.
So the forum thinks she's basically doing the female version of Andrew Tate. Same audience, same message, just a different packet.
Right. And the big question is she genuine? Or is it all a calculated performance? Because in the wild world of online influencing, the line between the two can get pretty darn blurry.
Okay, so you've got this image of Pearl potentially playing a character, raking in the dough, but coming from a background that screams anything but struggling artist. But wait, there's more. The forum keeps digging, and it's like every shovelful just unearths more questions.
Because then you have these ex-friends popping up in the thread, right? And they're like, hold on, you guys have it all wrong. The Pearl you see online. Yeah, that's not the real Pearl.
Oh, the plot thickens. Who are these mystery ex-friends, and what are they saying?
Well, there's this one, Emily K. Used to be roommates with Pearl back in the day.
Roommates. Oh, juicy.
Right, if anyone's going to have the inside scoop. But it's not just her. You've also got Angry Reactions chiming in. He's a YouTuber, dated Pearl for a hot minute.
Wait, that Angry Reactions, the conspiracy theory guy.
One and the same. And they're both singing the same tune, basically saying Pearl's whole act is, well, an act. That she's just playing this character to build a following.
So it's like, is she really this anti-feminist, pro-man firebrand, or is she just really, really good at playing one on the internet?
Bingo. And that's the million-dollar question the forum can't seem to agree on. Because on the one hand, the whole influencer game is built on this idea of being relatable, authentic.
Right. Yeah, like keeping it real or whatever the kids are saying these days.
Exactly. But the more you lean into a persona, the more successful that persona becomes. The harder it gets to separate yourself from it.
It's like that saying, fake it till you make it. Except in this case, it might be more like fake it, and then you get so good at it that you forget who you were before.
Exactly. And then you've got this whole other layer of, well, do people even want to see the real you anymore? Maybe they're here for the show, not the person behind it.
It's all very meta, but there's more, right? Like the rabbit hole goes deeper with this one.
Oh, absolutely. And this is where we get into some of the really head-scratching details about Pearl's life that the forum just eats up. Like, did you know she went to Catholic school?
Get out. Catholic school? That doesn't exactly scream rebellious anti-feminist influencer now, does it?
Right. It's like on the surface, it kind of tracks with this whole traditional values thing she's always pushing. But then you get into her dating history.
Yes. The forum's favorite pastime, digging up dirt on everyone's love life.
And let's just say Pearl's past relationships, let's just say they don't exactly scream traditional Catholic upbringing.
Spill the tea. The forum wouldn't shut up about some of these relationships, so clearly there's something there.
Okay. So we're talking like this one relationship with a, and I quote, homeless black YouTuber with 2 kids.
Whoa, hold on. Homeless? With kids, that's quite a leap from, whatever perfect little nuclear family image some might project onto her.
It's definitely not what you'd expect. And the forum had a field day with it. It was like this perfect little nugget of hypocrisy that they just couldn't resist.
Yeah. I mean, it does kind of poke holes in the whole traditional values narrative, right?
It makes you wonder if maybe, just maybe, there's a little more nuance to her personal life than she lets on. But it doesn't stop there.
Oh, God. There's more.
Oh, there's always more. We haven't even gotten into the TikTok bans.
TikTok bans. Plural. How do you even get banned from TikTok once, let alone multiple times?
You got to be pretty intentional about it, which again speaks to a willingness to push the envelope, to say controversial things, even if it gets you in hot water.
It's like, is she actually trying to get banned? Is that part of the strategy?
Right. Like, is any publicity good publicity, even if it comes with a permanently banned notification? It's a wild strategy, if that's what it is. But it seems to be working.
Because she's still here, still building her brand, still attracting followers.
Exactly. And this brings us to what might be the most baffling, most talked about incident in the entire Kiwi Farms thread, the Nick Fuentes interview.
Oh boy. This is the big one, isn't it? The interview that launched 1,000 forum posts.
The one that really made people question everything.
So for those of us who don't have alt-right internet personality on speed dial, who is this Nick Fuentes character? And why was it such a big deal that Pearl had him on her show? Okay, so we're talking about someone who is way outside the mainstream, and Pearl, who we've established is building her brand on being this pro-man but not explicitly hateful figure, decides to have him on her show. What was she thinking?
Well, the forum pretty much collectively lost their minds when that interview dropped.
You gotta figure these are people who are already pretty on board with Pearl's usual message, right?
Exactly.
Yeah.
So for her own audience to be taken aback, it's like, this was a big deal.
And it's not like Fuentes toned it down for the occasion or anything.
Oh, no. He brought the full Fuentes experience. And there are a few moments that the forum really latched onto. Like, there's this whole weird tangent about female police officers.
Oh, yeah, I remember the part.
It gets very uncomfortable very quickly. And what's really telling is you see Pearl's reaction.
Yeah, she's not into it.
She is visibly uncomfortable, which even if you're someone who, agrees with some of Fuentes' other views, that's got to be a bridge too far for a lot of people.
Totally. It's like even she didn't realize what she was getting herself into.
It really showed this disconnect.
So damage control time, right? Delete the interview, pretend it never happened.
Sure. But it doesn't end there. It gets messier.
Because of course it does. This is the internet, after all. Enter Sarah Garvey.
Ah, yes, the plot thickens even further.
So for those who don't know, Sarah Garvey, he'd collaborated with Pearl before, right?
Yeah, they had a whole podcast together for a while.
And then this interview drops and he's not happy.
To put it mildly, Garvey calls her out, publicly, for platforming a white supremacist, cuts ties completely.
Which, honestly, can you blame him?
Not really. But then here's where it gets even wilder. Instead of just, laying low, Pearl threatens to sue him.
For defamation, it's like, how many times can you double down on a bad decision?
Right. And the forum, of course, ate it up.
Because of course they did.
It became this whole debate. Was Pearl being intentionally provocative, trying to drum up controversy because any press is good press? Or was this a genuine lapse in judgment?
Was she willfully ignorant going into that? Or did she just totally miscalculate how bad this would be?
It's impossible to know for sure.
And it feeds into this pattern the forum picks up on. They call it cow crossovers. Basically, anytime Pearl teams up with someone super controversial.
And we're not just talking about edgy YouTubers here. This is Andrew Tate, Adam22 from No Jumper, even Destiny, the streamer, who's notorious for, well, let's just say his debate tactics can be aggressive.
Right, so we're talking about people who have built their entire brand on being confrontational.
Exactly. And it makes you wonder, what is it about these figures that draws her in?
Is it calculated? Is she using these controversies, these cow crossovers, to boost her own profile?
It's certainly a possibility. Or is it something else? Is it possible she's actually drawn to these people and their ideas, even if they seem misguided at best, or at worst, downright harmful?
It all comes back to that same question. Who is the real Hannah Pearl Davis?
Right. Is she a master manipulator, cynically exploiting the darkest corners of the internet for views and subscribers?
Is she a lost soul searching for meaning in all the wrong places?
Or is the truth somewhere in between? Maybe it's a mix of everything, nature and nurture, ambition and insecurity.
And isn't that what makes these deep dives so fascinating? We've gone through all the evidence, the speculation, the hot takes. But ultimately, there's no easy answer. We're left with more questions than we started with.
But maybe that's the point. Maybe the most intriguing people are the ones who defy easy categorization, the ones who force us to confront our own assumptions and biases.
The ones who make us think, what would I do?
Exactly. So what do you think?